in this ability to integrate into the physical our emotional body.
And the emotional body is, of course, representative of the astral. The astral is representative of what many people refer to as the higher self. And
Mhm.
so, yes, that coming into full embodiment in the experience here, I would fully agree, is what's in the process of
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, I think it's possible for anybody, everybody to some degree, and some to a degree that's going to lead to a paradigm like what we're seeing in those who are able to begin going out of body. So for you, how did these situations and circumstances begin to pattern out into your life experience? What kind of things did they get you interested in as you're becoming a teen and young adult?
So I was always very interested in teaching, but in a very lecturing way. Like, oh, are you gonna, tell me how the clock works instead of telling me what time it is? I will tell you how the clock works, right? So I would get into the mechanics. I was very interested in mythology, and that I just look at that as being, I grew up in communist Romania, so we didn't have TV, we didn't have. It was like you have books and you can play with each other, and then have creative play a lot, right?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
also because my grandparents took it upon themselves to, in the summers outside of school, to take us around the country. Romania is a country that's very rich in history and historical places, and they're very beautiful. So I was always given to the mystical, 100% in the mystical. I had a mystical experience at 5 years old in a nunnery, that in this monastery that was built, from a hermit, was there in 1200 AD, and this is this very old monastery. Love it.
Please share it. What happened?
I felt a ray of light walking through the cloister, the nuns' cloisters, and I was looking at the nuns, and I felt as if I belonged there. I would not have said it that I remembered it, but I came out of that like, I'm gonna be a nun. I'm gonna live here. This is what it is for me. Like entering the house of God and feeling there's energies in places like that, especially, 800 years of energy left in there. And so my grandfather wanted me to see the history and appreciate the art. He was very inclined to, art and art collection.
Mhm.
But I was having a mystical experience at 5 years old. I lived inside the mysticism of like mythologies and the stories that I was being told. And I could feel that. And I was like, oh, I am a nun. I need to live here. And I had this experience of sitting during prayer. The nuns would go to prayer and people, the tourists started looking around. And I immediately followed.
Okay, so we're connecting the experience at 5 years old to really fast forwarding to where yoga comes in and you're even teaching yoga. So when did you, as a discipline, begin practicing yoga, and what path did you choose?
So as a discipline, it was on and off sporadic in my early 20s. I did yoga as, I mean, you can say as a discipline, but really it was the workout, right? It was studio yoga. I lived in Los Angeles at the time. Yoga is a thing, right? I'm good at yoga. I'm ready. I was a sports model. So, I was like, this is my thing. I was working out. So, it's a thing. So I can't say that I was like really dropping into it from a devotional perspective. I would
Okay.
read about the traditions, and I would really, really taking on the right around the time when I started to have more experiences come through. But that's only because on top of the physical practice, I started to really go take on the breath practices, the pranayama, and the meditation. It's like the moment that I understood that asanam is there to prepare for meditation, then it became something else. That's when it became devotional.
When you move from practitioner or student to teacher,
Uh-huh.
you're moving from the linear practice to the exponential accelerated learning program.
Hmm.
And so that was the first thing I realized when I first started teaching, how fast things began accelerating in my experience in terms of the depth of experience and phenomena that happens at certain depths, and inevitably the awakening, the Kundalini, the out of body experience, and all that. It was really, I mean, it happened really fast at that point. So my path unfolded relatively the same as yours at the same ages, very similar junctures. Uh, so can I just ask, because I'm sort of wanting to give a timeline here. You have that experience when you're 5 years old at the nunnery.
Mhm.
It leads you into a spectrum of experience that gets you interested in teaching. You start practicing yoga. 10 years later, you're teaching yoga. And then how long is it before the OBE comes into this equation for you?
Okay, so the OB came in this equation in the 200 hours during the 200-hour training.
So actually in the training program so like immediately.
Yeah.
So what happened in 2009?
In 2009, due to complications, if you will, in my personal life, heartbreak, business breakup, where am I going? What's my life going? I had an experience while in a meditation in an attempt to focus my meditation on a piece of paper on the table to disappear, right? Back to the Tratak. It's here, it's not here. I'm only seeing it. Can I see beyond it? What happened, however, it flipped on me and I disappeared. The table, the paper, everything was there, and I became the not thing. Like I actually could not observe myself in. And then I believe you call this the wave format, right?
Point consciousness, unembodied.
Unembodied point of consciousness. And that shocked me. Once, it hit rock bottom. It was like, this is the bottom. This is, I can fall no further than this floor, right? Like it hit there. And in that moment, it was like, now what? Now what? I know that I can clean this up, but I need to find my footing, right? So
What was
like,
happening? What was
all
happening? What led to you hitting the bottom of the barrel?
Oh, everything, literally everything. The relationship, like personal life was shit. I called it the pits of all pits. It was like, personal life was crap. Financial life was crap. There was not going in. Nothing I did worked. It's like it literally became, I don't know why things are so hard, but this is the way they are.
Okay, but now you have some depth perception where you are. And why is it that you think this happened? Now, from your perspective
From
now,
my perspective now, um,
yes. Why does it have to happen? Happens
it
for a lot of
happened to
us.
take away the attachments of these constructs that were creating an identity in a particular way.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
And I have a very strong ego and I'm a very capable person. And I was going to stronghold that. If it wasn't deconstructing like that, I was going to stronghold it all the way.
I
Yeah.
want to I want to hone in right here because I think I can see where it will lead. In the breaking down of the identity
It was like, thy will be done.
and what further does this lead you into? Is this what leads, let me ask directly, is this what leads into the ceremonies?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the spiritual disciplines are there. The yoga, working with the breath, working with the mind through meditation is there, but you go an additional step toward the ceremonial plant.
Yes. Because a friend of mine took me on so we went back to LA. This is funny because this is happening in Vegas, but like, let's go to LA, meet some friends. We drove out to LA. We drove out to Sycamore Canyon. And my first ceremonial plant medicine was with Huachuma, San Pedro. And I just had the most amazing heightened awareness experience.
More heightened than what you were capable of at that time through direct meditation or sitting
Yes,
in.
because I was so wrapped up in the victimizer story, is that, and then so that this was like, it's like, like, oh, look, you actually have access to all of your body and all of the senses and all of the what's in here instead of the constriction point that I got myself into out of, fear and projections, and it has to be a certain way. And
Yeah, I just find it interesting that it's happening at the juncture where the field is breaking down your sense of identity.
100%. Yes.
Right there in that, you're directed to step into ceremonial plant medicine,
Yeah,
which
she
is
came
notorious
in.
for
Yes.
doing just that.
She came
So,
in from New York. She flew in. She had experience with it, and she flew into New York. She's like, "Okay, let's go hiking." And I brought you something, and let's. And I was like, I was game. I was like, "Yeah, why not?" Right? And it just was this like communion with nature and the forces of nature, really.
okay, so this is a casual experience and it's not guided, right? It's just you and your friends
Yes,
sitting.
it's guided. I would say it's guided because she knew what she was doing, right? So it wasn't like, oh, let's take some mushrooms and see what happens, right? Kind of thing. Like she was very aware. She's a great,
Right, right.
yeah.
However, you're about to step further in to ayahuasca ceremonies, yes?
Yes, later.
Which are fully guided. And so I'm just contrasting that, with what you generally get when you're going to step into the ayahuasca experience.
So the ayahuasca experience didn't come until came about a year later.
Okay, let's take the pathway there. So that first experience with your friend in the canyons is with what again? I missed
The
it.
first, it's called Huachuma or San Pedro,
Okay,
which
San
is
Pedro.
mescaline.
And the
And
next
and
step
it's
was,
very aware, right? So it doesn't have mescaline doesn't quite have the psychedelic effects of ayahuasca or psilocybin, right? So or DMT. So it's very communal. It's a heart medicine is what they call it, right? And in a hike, the Huachuma de San Pedro specifically is considered the more masculine aspect of it, peyote being the more feminine
and you're
aspect.
going to combine with all of these medicines, yes?
It tipped me. That medicine, yes, I will. But that medicine alone tipped me because driving back after like the medicine expansion, driving back to my place in West Hollywood from it was right there. It was like, oh, I'm so entrenched into this thing that I
Mhm.
think I am. And it's literally stopping me from actually being myself, like being stuck in traffic
Mm.
from Malibu to West Hollywood at traffic time in Brentwood. I was like, oh my God, human beings are so ridiculous. Like we created cars so we can get there faster. And it's the cars that won't let us go anywhere. Like we're stopped. And I'm like, oh my God. So I started to live inside the irony of things.
Okay, so you're beginning to experience this. Your identity's been broken down. You're experiencing a much more expanded state of being. The humor is starting to come about in it all, and you're about to take another step into another medicine. What comes next?
I hung out with aliens on Pluto.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
I was like, I'm
Let's
out.
focus in on the ayahuasca ceremonies. How many ceremonies did you do? When was your first, and how many did you do?
My first was in 2009.
Okay.
Then I didn't go back until 2019,
Okay.
2018.
So that lasted you for 10 years.
Yes, I was good. It was phenomenal. It was so incredibly intense. It was just,
Yeah.
yeah. So in that, I met my 5-year-old self
Mhm.
that had such clarity about the fractal sound tone geometry. It There's this saying that ayahuasca is it's dark and it's sludgy and she goes in and just clears, much like the yoga practice, that she goes in and clears all your knots and wrings out and grabs everything, grabs onto everything and pulls it all out of you, and it'll clear you out to bring in the light because she's so dark that grabs everything for the light to come in. But first you shit and vomit. And I was like, yep, all of that. Like check, check, and check. It's like, what are you willing to leave it here? Oh, and by the way, if you're not willing, it is the hell and the high water. It'll do it. Right.
Yes. So tell us about the preparation. What do you do prior to the ceremonies, prior to the throwing up and the going into the room. So lead us through the process.
Each facilitator sets up their containers in whatever their traditions, but in general, there is a what's called a dieta. So it's a diet and a preparation for diet for your body to meet that. They also set you up. The diet is not just what you're eating, is everything that you're consuming and the environment that you put yourself in. I know now that a lot of that responsibility, a lot of that bringing awareness to everything that you're consuming and bringing into your environment is a form of awareness. It's a form of, free will choice, and it's a form of maturity to let you take responsibility for what your experience is when you're the one that, like if you decide to break with the diet, you're the one that's going to pay for it. But here's the other layer. You're also a participant within a circle. So now this is your contribution to the circle. And there are beings in there that are very sensitive, that will know that you brought, your preparation is less than, and someone else is it's almost as if you can observe that someone else is carrying that in that space.
So you have an individual and a collective experience within the ceremony itself?
Well, I think that denotes the level of availability for each individual, whether one can say that.
Sure.
I personally always have a collective awareness. I actually call that the portal within portal. There's the portal of the experience, which is like, this is what I've shown up for me. I've set my intentions and this and that. But then there's this like second flip where you're like, and now please observe that your DNA light structure is contributing to this container. What it was revealed in that interaction with a personified representation was something that later on I came to understand, that I was being shown the electric wars. Are you familiar with that term?
I am not. Say the term one more time and then tell us what it is.
The electric wars. So as I understand it, is some sort of memory of a different time in a different dimension of humanity. It's like fifth dimensional, maybe Atlantean or pre-Atlantean existence of humanity that, and so I want to be very clear though, that I had no concept of this.
And this is coming to you in this ceremony?
Correct.
Okay. With Horus and Lakshmi, they're bringing you the concept of an electric war.
The electric wars, I was shown the appearance of material things from sort of like a subspace, or the dark matter strata, and how things come into materialization. And like the whole teaching for me was physics and quantum physics and mechanics. And then the explanation that they actually said this, that they are not gods.
What comes next? So you do this ayahuasca ceremony, and now it's 10 years before you do another. Why do you do another?
I did another because I went into the 300-hour certification, right? So and what happened in the 300-hour certification, when I got really deep into my practices, jolted me into a space of some serious fear.
Okay. Could you identify it?
Yeah, the OBE experience was so jarring and so scary, and they were so scary. There were a lot of them, but one in specific, that I didn't know what to do with it. I could hold that space of meeting the gods and understanding this, and there's entities in sort of like the medicine space, right? But I don't know what to do with it when that is starting to happen in my 3D life.
Okay, and we will just say is what denotes the OBE. A fully conscious shift from our 3D physical Earth life space, into the expanded state. And so, yes, it's shocking. It's shocking.
But in medicine, it's like, oh, I took something and the something is working. But I'm in the medicine. So like that's not something where I took something. That now I'm just doing my breathing practices, which is Nadi Shodhana. Yes, I have a very long hold, right? We spoke about Kumbhaka, where I've arrived in a hole that is so long that I forget that I'm not breathing out anymore. And it's like, oh, is this even supposed to happen? Am I doing it wrong? Am I right? But then in those, either immediately after that in meditation or in those nights, and it started with conscious sleep, like something is rewiring in my nervous system, in my experience of how I perceive reality and what is happening to me. I'm starting to glitch out again, like I did in 2009.
Mhm.
And not one bit of that is discussed in anything yogic. In fact, it was really hard for me. I had to pull my teacher aside and even ask, have you even heard of anything like this?
Right. And so you're finding yourself on unfamiliar ground, or we could even say without ground beneath your feet. This is brilliant. This is what's necessary. However, yes, when we do it in our conscious state, our central nervous system is involved. At the base of that central nervous system is a fight flight mechanism, and it's the first thing we meet in the OBE. So it's the first thing that gets ignited, and you feel the fear. And the fear has to do with before you're controlling the experience, you are consciously taking a substance and it
Yes.
resulting in an experience. And now it's happening not by your control, not by your
Oh,
person's control. And so here's the big difference. And so, okay, go ahead, continue. This is leading you into wanting to see more about what that fear is, or what's going to happen. What's the
no, this led me to like almost 2 years of trying to avoid sleep.